morning, everybody. So this is impromptu. There's no pre-planned show. This is just very much needed. So there's been a lot of discussion, or not, which needs to be a discussion, about when we say the establishment. What is the establishment? Good morning. I don't know. Facebook is not telling me who people are, so if you want me to be able to know who you are in chat, just say hello. So the establishment, okay. The establishment is what is destroying the Republican Party. It's not a new term. It's not been around. This is not a new thing. This is actually a very common. It actually started in Great Britain with people like Tony Blair, directly linked to Youngkin's appointed Andrew Rotherham, Bill Clinton, the Third Way. So the Third Way is nothing new than this new Republican way that we're going to talk about. This new conservative, neoliberals. Well, that's neoconservative, and that's what we're looking at now. And it's nothing that Bill Clinton and Tony Blair, two complete different nations, didn't collude to do back during the Clinton administration. So when we talk about the establishment, what are we talking about? You can look it up. It's really funny because the first definition I found was in Spanish. And it literally talks about the people who hold the money, who hold the power. So when I'm consistently talking about the problem is, hey Jim, hey Tammy, when I'm talking about the establishment, and I'm going to talk about specific cases with primaries coming up with people that, when I call it fluffing. When Governor Youngkin fluffs people, the establishment is what you have. They're elected, they're brought into office, they are beholden to not you, the people that elected them. They are beholden to, and that's why the cover of this YouTube was the wonderful Robin Williams meme that I found. And it's funny because we're going to talk about Hermie Sadler, but this was just a joke. And it's that politicians should wear sponsor jackets like NASCAR drivers. Then we know who owned them. It's perfect. And it just happens to be, we're going to talk about Emily Brewer and Hermie Sadler. So how the establishment works is, I don't think I've sent myself this. Let me pull it up real quick. Like I said, it's not planned, so this is one of those ones that's really good because it's going to be all truth and it's not scripted. So give me 1 second. I don't know. So we know, people know about Soros. People know about, Gates owns everybody. People know, but not enough people know about the Koch brothers. So the Cocktopus. And the Cocktopus is important. Here's the image. Okay. Let's see if I can. I have to download it. So the Cocktopus would be the conservative swamp of the problem with everything. And I'm speaking strictly from education. So when you bring everything into the realm, there's literally nothing that you care about if education is not at your forefront. And this is why I'm speaking next week at the Winchester event, which everybody should come to, is because these are people that whether it's child sex trafficking, vaccination, medical freedom, World Economic Forum, the WHO, is that there's literally nothing going on in the world today that does not directly tie to education. And so I've been honored to come ask and speak there so that I can bring, and just like I was asked to speak at the Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance Zoom call, to bring all the people into the understanding, whether it's abortion, whether it's any conservative value, is that the fact that education has been ignored for this long has a direct purpose, and we are seeing it come to fruition in Virginia currently with our new red government. So the coctopus is the perfect example. Let's see. Of, there it is. Okay, so this would be the coctopus. And this is what it looks like when you have an extremely, when I talk about the 1% like yesterday, and when I did in my, that does not care about the 99%, that would be the Bezos, the Soros, the Carlyle Group, I'm just going to say, when we talk about buying an election, the Koch brothers. And it's funny because you'll find this information from the left, but it's still extremely, most of the information that I find out about what's going on our side of the fence that we need to know about is coming from them. So the fact that Virginia doesn't acknowledge it should send really big alarm bells off with everybody. So just to zoom in, and this is going to blast a lot of people. So when you have Koch, okay, I'm just going to, right here, focus on this group right here. So when we have the VEOA, okay, so I don't know if you read my Substack that actually Lynn, Common Core Diva, wrote, but it was like Educrats on Notice in Virginia, part 1. Is the VEOA was on the thumbnail because there's a specific reason for that. And so over here, you've got that's Walmart, okay, the Walton Foundation. You've got Heritage. You've got Cato. Now, these are what the left will call conservative think tanks, okay? And you even got if over here, American AEI, okay? That's the most, like, yes, they are part of the problem. Aspen, you can't have Aspen Institute, one of the main national pushers for social emotional learning, part of the Coctopus, linked with AEI. But see, here's where the problem comes in, guys, is that when you have groups, John Locke, okay, when you have groups like, unfortunately, there's FreedomWorks, who we turned down a grant for because it came with stipulations. So when you have groups, look right here. Just gonna say, they have become a big pusher for what? School choice. Glenn Davis's school choice. I have one of their illustrious propaganda pushers who stalks me all day long on Facebook. He's probably watching right now. Hi, Ty. And so when you look at things like these, okay, so Heritage, we got education. They're great, right? But then you've got things like Citizens for Sound Economy. This is when we talk about the workforce education and why it's a Republican problem, and therefore if we don't acknowledge it's a Republican problem, we can't fix it. And then American Prosperity, they had an independent women's forum, which I heard that was just a wonderful event. And why are you so mean to these people? Well, because you don't have any idea what you're talking about. And I'm in scorched earth mode because is that we have some of these people that I'm getting ready to talk about. So this is what it looks like, the coctopus. When you start talking about the establishment. And we talk about the establishment, we're talking about people funneling money-funded accounts, okay? The people who are getting assaulted, when I say assaulted, I mean like the people trying to do right for the people in their division, running against the establishment, the people that have sat in seats for far too long, okay? That is why there's only 2 candidates who currently hold seats that Virginians for Children's First are endorsing. Everybody else is new. And there's a specific reason for that. Those people earned those endorsements by acknowledging their failures and committing to fixing it. That's it. That's the only reason why. Everybody else, brand new. So I want to talk specifically real quick about, let me pull it up. 2 problems. One would be the Hermie Sadler, Emily Brewer problem. And then there's one that not enough people are talking about, and that would be the Amherst, Bedford, Sarah Mays, Tim, the homeless man that, here you go, that Governor Youngkin is endorsing. But so let's jump real quick into, all right. So first is I don't know if y'all read this. So this would have been last, let's see, when was this? Oh, not that long ago, about a month ago. Department of Elections to change a Southside State Senate nomination process. So 17th District. That would be Emily Brewer, who is endorsed by Youngkin, Americans for Prosperity. Things like Americans for Prosperity, you have to start questioning the words. The words. Why? What does that mean, and how does that apply to education? Why are they driving education policy? So this one here was Hermie Sadler. So a chairman of the Republican Legislative District Committee in the 17th Senate District filed a suit against the Virginia Department of Elections and the State Board of Elections because, Don Jones, because election officials unlawfully made a change under pressure from Governor Glenn Youngkin and Attorney General Jason Miyares after initially confirming the district committee's decision to settle the nomination contest during a state-run primary. The statute is clear. It says that one legislative district chairman has certified the nomination method. And it went on to say that filed the suit on behalf, this is not a discretionary statute, it's a mandatory statute. Of course, Youngkin declined to comment. So that would be this district division right down in here. Dinwiddie, Brunswick, Emporia, Southampton, Isle of Wight, Suffolk. And so here's, okay, okay guys, just to toss this in. When you have Jen Kiggins, anybody with half a brain, and it's like, this is how you can breadcrumb the problem. Okay, Jen Kiggins, when people endorse, it's almost like if you were smart, you'd be like, don't endorse me. It's not a positive thing, and Virginians are picking up on the fact that the breadcrumb of endorsements, it's like Carrie Coyner endorsing Glenn Sturtevant. As if we didn't already know who he was. When you have the woman who is the red body in the red seat who's allowed to take a walk instead of voting because she doesn't want to vote against anything having to do with protecting children or parental rights or transparency in education, she's allowed to take a walk. Okay, so with that, when she, and you can endorse anybody, but when you then publicize that you've been endorsed by that person, that's when you commit to that. Okay, that's my squad. So just keep in mind that Jen Kiggins endorsed Emily Brewer. And so to take it back, right after that, let's see, that was the 23rd. This would be the 27th. The court ruled that he heard arguments from both sides, from Don Jones, who filed it, and they ended up ruling that Youngkin, whatever he did to meddle in the middle of it, is that, so Jones alleged that Youngkin strong-armed election officials into ordering a convention. Who does conventions work for? Who? The establishment. Who did a convention work for when it came to getting a governor at the last minute? The governor. Okay, primaries remove we the people. Okay, so it's just logic. Okay, and Youngkin emerged out of nowhere through a convention, and then you have these firehouse primaries. Is that, and so believe it or not, thanks to that will cease to exist, I believe, next year, thanks to Joe Morrissey. because, and you know who he did that for? Amanda Chase, because she got absolutely screwed with the gubernatorial election. So that will cease and it will all become uniform. So that's one case. One case. And then I want to bring up this one that nobody's talking about. Let me see. Here we go. So, Tim Griffin. Okay. So we've got Tim Griffin. This would be Amherst, Bedford. Now, not to mention, he is the GOP chairman of the Bedford GOP. And my understanding is that if you're running for office or in office, chairing a GOP committee, because I heard about how that meeting went last night, and so anyway. So, March 17th, this would have been published. So GOP candidate for the Virginia House of Delegates, Tim Griffith, was described by a Lynchburg Circuit Court judge as essentially homeless when his attorney struggled to explain where Griffin actually lives, causing the judge to question whether or not he lives in Virginia and warned that Griffin could be committing voter fraud, among other crimes. So Tim Griffin, who's running for the GOP nomination for the Virginia House of Delegates in the 53rd District, Bedford, portions of Bedford, Amherst, and Nelson. So you notice these are like smaller divisions that it's like that seems to be where this is going on, where they're putting their plants. Even Griffin's own attorney was unsure where he lives when pressed by the judge. I think he stays at a colleague's house, or he stays at a friend's house, or rents a hotel. Well, that's essentially being homeless, is what the judge replied. He does not have any physical address. Where does he keep his clothes? Why this is important, and I'm not bashing a man that is homeless, I'm essentially drawing attention to the fact of there are laws in Virginia about how you run for office. The requirements to run for office, which include legal physical address in the division you're running for. So I had heard through the grapevine last night that there are people beholden to the GOP that are, well, is it really that important? Because now what he's done is he's rented a garage that is not zoned for to be rented as a space. And now those people have been found, and he's being evicted. And so this is where this comes from. And then you have to ask the questions of why is the GOP continuing to support people like that? Is that, again, we're not following the law, and the law says there are certain stipulations to run in a specific division, and one of them should be being eligible to voting. I mean, running for office. Hello. I do so solemnly swear not to violate the Constitution of the United States. How do you run for office and violate the voting process and then go in and take an oath of office? Question number one. So people say, well, this is national file. Do you really think that you're going to get any kind of actual media? Like when you read in USA Today that Governor Youngkin's parental rights campaign or strategy should be used across the nation. Seriously? USA, like when you have major mainstream media propping up a Republican governor, anybody with half a brain should be like, no. So you're not going to get like any like, so you have to go to like actual journalists who speak truth. And it doesn't make it any less relevant because these people take their job seriously and they're actual journalists and they do their research. So, despite Griffin currently serving as chairman of the Bedford County Republicans, let me see if I can zoom in. Zoom in. Sorry. So, running for state office, the Bedford County address under which he's voted absentee in 3 general elections and in 1 primary since 2020 includes that year's presidential election and the 2022 midterms. Guys, all this stuff you can VPAP. If you've never been to vpap.org, it's a great place to go. I'm gonna show you that in a second. He hasn't stayed since July 2020, according to the testimony of the homeowner itself. This is despite Griffin marketing himself in his delegate campaign as an anti-fraud election integrity attorney, which will bring me to, hold on, get this. This is the problem with Facebook. Election integrity attorney, but when I just happened to earlier was looking up something regarding this subject. Here it is. No, let's go back. Okay. Look at that. Okay, so May 2nd, election integrity attorney. Today we attended the logic and accuracy test for 2 voting machines in Bedford County. And then it goes on to talk about, these are Dominion machines. Well, I don't think Bedford County could have done anything better. I personally still feel, he does feel uneasy about them. But nothing about that screams election integrity, considering the fact that they just had a ginormous, a couple statewide election integrity event. So just, there he is with his good old Dominion machines. So let's go to Tim. Okay. So again, not bashing him, but I'm saying that this is where the problem comes in, is that Governor Youngkin has endorsed him. The people, and so then you have candidates like Sarah Mays, who would be if I lived in Amherst in Bedford and wanted somebody to go into the House of Delegates, and when we the people and care about what we the people of Nelson, Amherst, Bedford want done as a Republican candidate, as a conservative, that's who I would want. I would not want somebody who had lied, falsified to get elected, violated the law, had a governor ignore it, endorse him. What are we doing? Is the question. What are we doing? Virginia. What are we doing? And which brings me to the most recent updated one. This Virginia GOP candidate, Tim Griffin, ineligible to run for office under state law. That would be March 25th. So the Hermie Sadler, Emily Brewer thing running back to back. Appears blatantly ineligible to run for office under Virginia state law and apparently committed voter fraud after court documents and audio recordings. You can look these up on National File. He spent years voting from a phony address belonging to an Airbnb while living a nomadic and essentially homeless life in multiple states and jurisdictions. So, this is the problem, is electing attorneys, because they're attorneys. I'm an election fraud attorney. Okay, have you actually done research on who you're electing? And then when we start making excuses for them, that's the problem. Court documents, court audio, voter registration applications paint a very different picture of Tim Griffin's life and whereabouts than the one he's painted for the people of Bedford County, Virginia, where he currently sits as the local GOP chair to the people of the wider 53rd House District, where he's running in this year's state. So this would be, the address belongs to an Airbnb. This is his voter registration, where Griffin admits he only stayed for a period of 6 months. After initially registering to vote at the Elkridge address, he renewed his voter registration at the same location months after he admitted that he had vacated the Airbnb. He finally changed his voter registration to another forced address. This would be March, as his campaign for delegate was underway, and he apparently realized the need to tie up loose ends like voting from a phony address. That would be when National File met with, these are journal, the Bedford County Registrar to receive this information. It was relayed that Griffin came into the registrar's office in March, that was last month, claiming that he'd previously changed his address about a month prior, but no such record was found. As a result, Griffin was required to file a new Virginia voter registration application reflecting his new purported address, which, according to him in court audio, belongs to someone else's garage. Oh, Griffin's campaign manager, Tanner Banovich, which I will not go there, ominously warned National File to be careful about reporting information from anonymous sources before refusing to exchange contact information and fleeing in his vehicle. That would be threats from the almighty establishment because they have the money. That's a threat. Be careful. Be careful. Do you mean be careful? I get, and I'm not careful. I don't care. So just right here, in order to qualify as a candidate for any office of the Commonwealth or of its government units, a person must be qualified to vote for and hold that office. In order to hold any office of the Commonwealth or its governmental units elected by the people, the candidate must have been a resident of the Commonwealth for 1 year preceding his election to be qualified to vote for that office. Okay, just to clarify. And again, these can be found in National File. So this is just a symptom of the disease of the establishment. And from my understanding is that 3 different people have filed against this, and they were told by the election board that after the primary, should he win, then Sarah Mays could then seek this. Tell me how that would work out. Tell me how that would work out. After he beats you, then you can then go file for voter fraud. How has that worked out for us? So Amherst, Bedford, Nelson, people, wake up. Guys, down in Isle of Wight, Suffolk, that area, wake up. If you haven't picked up that the problem is the money. The money. Money. It all comes down to money. Why is it so hard for people to run for election? Money. Because if you're not getting big money from big people, it's really hard to have a plane fly you around when you're running for governor, a bus for everybody to sign, or ads, or campaign managers. Guys, most of these people who want to run to actually represent us, we the people, not we the GOP, we the Rich Anderson, we the RPV, they have no campaign managers. They're literally working tirelessly without any help or little help to get into office. You can pull up VPAP and money will tell you a whole lot. And won't tell you everything, because I know some good candidates that have had some big donors that are good people. But VPAP.org is a wonderful thing. On that note, I'm going to, Lisa said, how's that worked out for Carrie Lake? And that's the main thing is, so you look across the nation at this red wave that we were supposed to have back, Yesley and all these other people, and then across the nation that didn't work out for Youngkin is that, because the anti-establishment movement has been going on forever. People actually, that's the whole thing. If you look up Obama and anti-establishment, is people elected Barack Obama on anti-establishment and then found out he was establishment and then went on to vote for Trump. Like, okay, that's like how that goes. And so I wanted to real quick. Sorry. So we want to talk real quick. I want to talk about conservative, neoconservative, like neoliberal, because all this stuff is really important when you talk about, like what is this new Republican way? What is this new? Okay. So we talk about conservative. Conservative, traditional, is based on the belief in a limited role of federal government. Very important. Okay. That would be traditional conservatives. That would be the World Economic Forum not being involved in our education system. Limited role of federal, much less global. Global. So why is our World Economic Forum Carlyle Group governor all of a sudden switching the new direction for Republican conservatorship? Right there. Based on the belief in a limited role of federal government, traditional values such as religion, morality, and the implementation of gradual as opposed to radical changes within the confines of society. Edmund Burke, guys, a big one. If traditions are rejected by society collectively, a degree of disorder will emerge and society will thus be weakened at its core. What are we seeing? Conservative values have been diminished so long that what's happened? Our society has been weakened at its core, and Republicans and conservatives don't even know where their true north is. It's like this. It's like when you get, near the polls and they start going like this. Nobody has a true north anymore in the Conservative Party. Why? Because you've had red bodies and red seats telling us there's a new direction. No, I'm here to bring us back to our true north. And because the disorder that's happening within the Republican Party, the splitting, that now people like myself, we're the bad ones. We are the bad conservatives. We are the bad people. No, we're not. You caused the chaos. We are, to quote Jerome Bell, we are righting the ship. We are going to get the right. Okay? I'm going to skip, just for time's sake, modern conservatism, but neoconservatism, get this, began in the late 70s. It's about the same time that the takeover of education started. But be about, 60s, 1969 tends to be the big year. Conservative-leaning Democrats who became disenchanted with the party's foreign policy in the aftermath of the Vietnam War. Hippies, okay? The rise of the new left movements within the Democratic Party establishment beginning in the early 70s. Neoconservatives peaked in influence during, sorry guys, I'm going to pee in your Cheerios right here, Ronald Reagan. Okay? 1983, A Nation at Risk. The lie that started this whole education conundrum, that was him. And then it went on to George W. Bush. And then, of course, everybody's got to throw Trump in there. Not getting into that, because if you had to give me $1 million to pick between DeSantis and Youngkin or Trump, it would be a no-brainer for me. Because I can tell you one thing, DeSantis and Trump will sell us, and we will no longer be a sovereign nation. We will be literally the Communist Party of the former United States of America. But it talks, again, played a major role in determining U.S. policy towards the Soviet Union. So, and I shared yesterday, guys, the importance of understanding, let me see if I can pull up my post, understanding, so I have people don't ever think that, I have a brain, I'm just a loudmouth, but I also master's in geopolitical war history. Awesome for me and those of you who want truth, but really inconvenient for those who, let me see where it is, who don't like history. I was down at the Board of Education yesterday hearing people angry about history. Okay, let's talk about history. Okay. So it's right here. So I shared this yesterday. And my page is public, so I don't care. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Oh, yes. And yes, I have FAFO, whatever, on my, because evidently over in Hanover, that's a big thing. I'm a horrible person because I have FAFO on my Twitter, on my header. Okay, so that didn't help anything. Okay. And then so when we talk about, there's great articles. One is called Soviets in the Classroom by Charlotte Iserbyt. She is the goddess. She left the Reagan administration when she found out that this new neoconservative, and she started spearheading, Lynn Common Core Diva that was here last week, talked about that. So the deliberate dumbing down of America, 600 pages, contact me. I had the PDF of it. But Soviets in the Classroom is a really big one. So see if this sounds familiar. Okay. If we were to talk about increased literacy, the Virginia, I call it the Illiteracy Act, creating good citizens, and then to transform the United States into a global power, particularly in the areas of science, mathematics, and technology, STEM. What would that sound like if you didn't see anything else other up there? What's going on right now? The problem is that was Stalin in the 1930s. The Soviet government did that. Instituted a series of educational reforms designed to obliterate the established education system and create a new centralized structure that would increase literacy, create good citizens, and transform the Soviet Union into a global power. Using what? Science, math, and technology, STEM. And then I jumped up here with one of my, because I've done numerous presentations. This is just a slide because I have 100 years of history in my brain about how this has already been done. So this would be Lenin, the Bolsheviks, and Stalin. That's who's here. Lenin said, give me 5 years to teach the children, and the seeds sown shall not be uprooted. So I just added that in there. But so before Stalin's educational reform in the Soviet Union, teaching was characterized by local control. Guys, if you don't know this, you can reclaim your local control. Bigger divisions like Chesterfield, Loudoun, Fairfax, those are going to have a harder problem. If you live in a smaller division, you can, I would say easily with the right school board, and I will show you the money to prove why you need to do it, and the law, you can reclaim your local power. None of this is constitutional, and you can take back your local power. Side note. So, education policies were significantly influenced by what we were known at the time as pedagogists. So pedagogies. We hear pedagogy a lot. Scholars who considered learning the result of a conglomeration of genetic, cultural, environmental, and instructional factors. That's a pedagogy. That's not academics. And it's all theory. So our kids are, all these pedagogies that we hear about, it's all theory. There's no actual, factual academics. So yesterday I heard people talking about, inquiry. We need more inquiry. No, we don't need more child opinion on what their feelings are about X, Y, and Z. They need the facts before they can even get to critical thinking. And I'm not going to go on my top-down learning. You can't teach critical thinking to kindergartners first because they'll never get to the facts. And that's what's going on. So it sounds like pedologists were early believers in using research, evidence-based, to inform practice and were blatantly oriented towards a, say it with me, child-centered education, student-led learning, whole child, whole school, whole community. Stalin did it in the Soviet Union. How did that turn out? So, jumped portals a little bit, but my page is public. Anne Craftatus, look it up. And if you go to our YouTube channel, I've done numerous shows about it. I will come out and speak to your group about the communist history and pedophilia, especially with the new UN. And this is another thing. I'm going to pull one of the posts that somebody has sent me. Okay. So the United Nations. The United Nations. God, weren't they originally about saving children, right? And so that would be when we talk about UNESCO, that's the United Nations. So the application of international human rights law to criminal law, called the 8 March Principles, the report calls for offenses related to sex, drug, HIV, sexual and reproductive health, homelessness, and poverty to be decriminalized. The United Nations experts say that criminalizing offenses related to these issues constitutes an attack on human rights. While on the surface, guys, this is on the surface, it may seem relatively uncontroversial, just like the marriage law that Congress passed, that essentially, not essentially, but written into it, it opens the door for child marriage, for bigamy, polygamy. That's what that does. And it's things like the Equality Act that Charlotte Iserbyt started yelling about, and Phyllis Schlafly, what the Equality Act, as it appeared on the surface, what it was going to lead to, which is what we're seeing now with this gender madness and mayhem. So I'm just tossing this out because there's nothing in education, and when I say nothing, I mean nothing, that is not driven by UNESCO, the UN, the World Economic Forum, who our governor was where in 2019 and 2020. No, so whether you want to be beholden to the GOP or not, keep in mind the same people are now legalizing pedophilia. And this whole drive for human rights, that goes along with child rights. So as your parental rights are stolen from you because your child has rights, you don't. Keep in mind that the people that you're electing are beholden to are the ones that want us to not be a sovereign nation, and that you might be beholden to your GOP card or your red vest, but they are beholden to these people. UNESCO, the UN, the WHO, and that's both sides of the fence. It's not just one. That's why it's called the Uni Party. Just on that. And on that same note would be the same day, I'm not going to pull up the article because it's somewhere, would be the same day that I did the comprehensive sexuality education. I got people sending me the Bill Gates, I don't know how it finally came out, about him and Planned Parenthood worldwide, how much money he gives Planned Parenthood worldwide to destroy children, which, by the way, that whole, oh, here it is, randomly pulled it up. This would be April 18th, the same day, just, this is God happening, when he talks about normalizing prostitution to 10-year-olds, received millions from the Gates Foundation. That would be the Margaret Sanger who founded, okay, that would be Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. Oh, there's my girl, Nicole. Planned Parenthood. Okay. Nicole's amazing. I'm not going to pull it up. I've already done shows on this. So this would be the, that whole Norfolk comprehensive sexuality education. That would be the World Health Organization, Planned Parenthood worldwide. So my girl Nicole, she was the one that the NEA went after because she wanted her child's education records curriculum. That's my girl. So I didn't know that she wrote that. But yeah, so that would be the same day. Just a coincidence. So Norfolk. So if it's in Norfolk, it's other places, guys. And 2 shows I did on that, breaking down what comprehensive sexuality education is and is doing to your 6th grader coming to a school near you. So this is, I spoke about this too, is that, so the Republicans, the establishment is not talking about social emotional learning, and I've learned this for the last year. Well, it's transformative social emotional learning, so banning of critical race theory was BS from the beginning, because if you have SEL, you have critical race theory. Okay? Governor Youngkin didn't care about that. So how is it coming in? It's coming in through social emotional learning. So ask your establishment representation if you're not, because they need it for the workforce. That's the glue that binds it together. So if you don't want to talk about social emotional learning because you need it for your establishment workforce for the 4th Industrial Revolution, then how do you feel about your 6th grade daughter having to rehearse consent with another female in front of an 11-year-old in front of a classroom, because that's what you're allowing by not speaking out against social emotional learning. And then real quick, I want to show you guys, so we saw the coctopus. I want to show you guys the problem. I don't know if y'all subscribe to my Substack, which I'm going to find. It's the Virginian Warrior Mom. Anybody that wants to submit something, you're welcome to. I would love to have other mothers either experience their, Amanda Kozak in Powhatan is wonderful. She's gotten a bunch of, did you know that 96% of web apps are monetizing our children's data? Yet the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act is in effect now, and the only enforcer is Jason Miyares, and is doing nothing about it. So when moms get involved, that's Powhatan, they do amazing things. And so I've shared all that. 96% of the web applications in our children's Chromebooks are monetizing, which means selling our children's data. And we have a law to protect that our Attorney General is not enforcing. By the way, so if you're on a school board or running for school board, Sans Anderson has told them that they don't have to follow it until he enforces it, but you are still obligated by law and your oath of office, no matter what Sans Anderson tells you, to follow the Code of Virginia, the Constitution of Virginia. So just keep that in mind. It's really inconvenient, but really it's not, because these ed tech companies have been preparing for it since Northam. It was a Northam law. Since Northam passed it. So they've got it ready to go. It's opt-in, guys. Opt-in for children under 13. I can't do anything about COPA and the way that that law is written. I've tried. But opt-in, not opt-out. Opt-in. You have to opt in. Not know the knowledge to then opt out. And it's not being enforced. So just keep that in mind. 96% of our children's data is being monetized. Lisa said, wait, my 5th grader was just tested to see how she learns through other students or teacher. Yeah, we need to talk about that. So here's the thing, is that, so the what versus the how is a common misconception. Is what, the how will come naturally, except in, special education cases. Okay, the what, you have to have facts before you can, the how will come naturally. So it's like the reverse of what people say. People say, well, the indoctrination piece is, I don't want people teaching my children how to think or what to think. That's indoctrination. Okay, here's the thing. The what to learn is facts. The how to learn, so when you say it, you're literally saying, I don't want them to teach my children facts. I want them to teach them critical thinking. The how. How to learn will come naturally if the process of academics and education is done correctly. That's historical. That's not evidence-based, which means one person found a study that worked one place somewhere and one child it helped. That's literally what evidence-based, every time you read it, means. And I'm off topic again, but everybody learns something, right? So that's, the conversation of, is that when you see the word how, it's like learner. Virginia's for learners. Do you know what the learning model? It's a factory model. And I've scratched through it, is for earners, and it goes to the workforce. And so this was done under Northam and James Lane. Nothing in education has changed. The education agenda is the same as it was under Ralph Northam and James Lane. We were the #1 workforce education under James Lane and Ralph Northam. And now who's carrying it on? We were also the #1 business place to bring a business from U.S. World Reports in 2019. That would be Northam. And then Youngkin ran on we need to bring more business, just to bring in some facts here in the back of the head that I have to deal with every day in my brain. So, what was it? My Substack. Sorry. And I'm only doing this because I already have the links ready to go in the Substack. I'm not trying to promote myself. But where are you? I do everything on my phone. You'll have to apologize. So when I have to get in front of my computer, I'm a little bit lost. All right. 2 seconds. Be ready to go. Okay, there we go. And this is what I do. I Facebook it to myself because I don't really get lost on how to do anything else. All right. So here we go. So Virginia Educrats put on notice part 1. Lynn, Common Core Diva, she wrote this. And then I jumped in with a couple, because she's from North Carolina, a couple of Virginia facts. And I will post the link here. It is free to follow. You guys are welcome to donate because we lose a lot of money doing this for y'all, you guys. But anyway, here's a great image of, when we talk about educrats, these are people with a vested interest, monetary interest, in our children's education, and they are not actually caring about what these children learn. And what was interesting was this one right here. So Amy Gadara yesterday at the Board of Education, all those little like nicely suited people that came up to applaud the history standards of learning that want to teach your 5th grader Venn diagrams and how to be a good sharing citizen for the good of others in kindergarten. That was these kids right here. So it's like it's Virginia Tech, University of Virginia, it's Liberty too, it's every, so these are the people running education policy. This one here, look it up, Commonwealth Learning Partnership, just look that one up, it's fun. But Virginia Learns is one of the first ones I started to connect dots with. These are the people, so when they talk about, if somebody says go to your Chamber of Commerce, or when they talk about the chamber, why is the Chamber of Commerce deciding what our children learn is a big question. Okay. And so Virginia Learns is a really, where's the report? Okay, so I've already downloaded it. So the report is, you can go and find it. I've shared it probably too. But what's really interesting is the board. So you've got, this is who's determining what our children learn. Dominion Virginia Energy, Allianz, Genworth, Anthem. So it's businesses. Capital One, Bassett Furniture, Thomas. So businesses are deciding what Virginia learns. And by the way, back to the thing, a learner is not a student. It's not even a pupil. It's not a student. A learner I've done a show on that too. I think it was called "Do You Speak Education?" and it had a transformation, and I broke it down what education excellence is really well for you guys. But one I wanted to go to is Dominion Virginia Power. This would be VPAP. So when we talk about why Dominion Virginia Power gives so much money to politics on both sides, because it's certainly not about smart meters. It's certainly not about, anything like that. And then you look and you see who they're giving money to. It's both parties. Almost equal. Okay? So that's when the uni party comes in. Yes. The establishment backers. But Dominion Energy is one of the main ones. So you've got Lucas, Spurriel, Terry Kilgore, Saslaw, Norman. Don't care if you like him or not. This is the truth. McDougal, Dunnacant, bravo. Todd Gilbert, Mamie Locke. Guys, is when you have you have to ask why. Why? Then go back to there's Morrissey. And so then you can see, Obashane. Look there. Winsome. Okay, guys. Then remember who's driving education policy in this state. Why are they determining what our children learn? Because, look, there's Tara Durant. So when you have things like, yeah, we're not fascists. She said, you know how they scream we're fascists. Yeah, no, we're not fascists. They're fascists. You can go gaslight somebody else. So when you have, Glenn, there's good old Sturdivant. So you had Tara Durant, Sturdivant. Let's see who else. I've never really, nope, I don't want to sign up. Hala Ayala. Running against one of the best candidates that Prince William and Fairfax could hope for, Mike Van Meter, who more people need to get involved in that because he's amazing. And it takes a lot for me. Amanda Batten. Boop, boop. There we go. So when you have Hala Ayala, Amanda Batten, okay, a Quinn. Bryce Reeves. Ding, ding, ding. Emily Brewer. There we go. Virginia Chamber of Commerce, Lamont Bagby. Okay, this is not, and even my beloved Chris Head from Botetourt, is that when you can look on this and you can pretty much say that whoever is running against them for the primary, you need to go talk to that person and support that person. And it is really that cut and dry, because these people are beholden to not you. This is where money comes into play. When you pay to play, when you take the money, we're the most underfunded, because we won't pay for relevance, speak truth, is because we won't pay to play. And that's why we get to say what we want, as opposed to these other groups having these big, huge events spitting nothing but propaganda because they paid to play. The pay was they paid with their silence, and they paid with their soul, in my opinion. So that's just a brief example of the stuff that we put out in the Substack, is the truth about what the establishment is. And why, in the next couple of weeks, we have to start asking the questions. Who do we want in office? People that answer to a political party, or people that answer to the people that elect them? And it's especially important for those that have primaries or conventions or any of that nonsense coming up. Because getting an RN is cut it off. That is no longer we don't want red bodies and red seats anymore. Okay? Nope. We have to get the right. Because right now, two parties was never how it was supposed to be. And when it kind of comes to education, there is one party agenda. And it started with Belial's, and it went all the way through Wilder to Allen to McDonald to Kane to everybody up to Governor Youngkin. Same thing. Nationally, it's been the same thing. But because Virginia thought they didn't have Common Core, we are 20 years behind with about 20 minutes to catch up. So that's just my quick 2 cents in 1 hour and 46 seconds. I'm trying to cut these things off. So just a quick of what the establishment is, what they're doing, and when you see propaganda on social media, why it is your obligation as an American, as a patriot, and as a true conservative to not sit back and take it. To stand up for the little guy, the little woman, the little whoever, working their tail off a job with no campaign manager, with nobody helping them, with no door knockers, with no anything, trying to get in office without any support to do what's right for you. You are not beholden to a political party. I do not pledge allegiance to the GOP. Because essentially what they're doing, guys, this new conservative, neoconservative, is it's creating a new American democracy. And I've done shows on that before. And the new American democracy is not what we want to see. It's not. And so this is my challenge to you is people, Sarah Mays, you got the Mike Allers, you got Sheriff Maxwell running, you've got, the Amanda Chases, you got the people that are not funded by the establishment working their literal tails off to go in and to actually be for the people and not vote on what a governor, an attorney general, an establishment Senate, an establishment House of Delegates tells them to do. They are going to do what is right to restore America, to restore Virginia at all costs. And trust me, when we endorse people, we know this to be fact. And of course, facts can always change, but I endorsed a governor. And now, what am I spending my life doing, which is exhausting because there's so much going on the left that I have to detract my energy away from because I have to wake up my own political party as to what the truth is going on in Virginia. Because as goes Virginia, goes the nation. Like I said yesterday, douse some gasoline on it, light it on fire, blowtorch it. That needs to stop. Because if as goes Virginia, goes the nation, 15 months later, after day one, you can tell me what that's going to look like for the nation. There's a great book out. I think Levin wrote it. Could the next election be the last election? And it is quite possible that if we do not fix this Virginia election, and if we do not start electing the correct people to stand up against the government, because guess what? The governor governs the state. He is the president of the state. And if it's not in the Constitution of the United States, the governor has responsibility for it. That includes education. So if we don't have the right people that know how to or want to, they know how to, trust me. People say, well, does he just not know? Oh, he knows. Trust me. He knows. Is if we don't have the right governors or the right senators or the right school boards to know what the law is, to fight back and push back, and they just say, oh, yes, VSBA, I will do what you tell me to. Oh, yes, Governor Youngkin, I will vote the way you tell me to. Oh, you want me to write what legislation, Governor Youngkin? Yes, I will do that for you. Guys, is that we are going, guys, when I say that America, we will cease to exist. Okay? Becoming part of the United Nations, all that stuff, that is already diminished. I mean, we will no longer be a sovereign nation if you have not been aware of that. And we are inching closer and closer and closer towards teetering on the edge of, and when I say that King Red Vest is the final solution to the New World Order, I say it 100% after researching 25 years of what he did at Carlisle Group, that this is the worst situation that Virginia could be in. And you can like it, you can not like it. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I will push back until the very end. The very end. Because that's what it means to be an American. And so question whether who you answer to at the end of the day. Because once his 4 years is over, he's gone. The damage is done. Somebody else has come in. Are you still an American? Are we still America? Because Virginia is being wiped from the face of the earth. History. And we don't have a Republican governor standing up for the obliteration of our own history. What world are we going to leave our children becomes the main question. Our grandchildren. That's what fires me up every single day, is I do not want my children living this nightmare. So if I have to go down in a blaze of glory, God bless it, I will. As long as my 2 little daughters don't have to deal with this. And my grandchildren don't have to have mothers fighting to save them. If they can have a better future because of what I do and what we do, and do it different in the face of adversity, because you will get it, then God bless it, y'all. God will lift you up and build your armor. But this is something we have to do together. Together. I do it alone, but it'd be a lot better together. So, have a happy Friday. Trying to think. Thursday night, the Constitution and the Education at the Louisa Tea Party will be really good. Somebody, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know who you are. I just wish more people would understand what is happening in Virginia. Well, you know, there is, Samuel Adams' wonderful quote is, it's about it just takes a minority to set the brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And that's become for a year I've been doing this unapologetically, and I have set enough brush fires that I'm working with, I think, 7 Senate candidates, 3 delegates, to understand what's going on. And I'm speaking. People are knowing what I speak about. They're asking me to come speak. And is that if there was more people sharing and speaking about what I speak about, imagine, I think it would probably take about 30 or 40 of us across the state to speak about what I speak about unapologetically. Going to the Board of Education and calling out the failure of our governor unapologetically. Because at the end of the day, guys, you go home to your children. You look at your grandchildren. Whether you have kids or not, you pay taxes for this. So the indoctrination of children, you can be like, yeah, my kids are done. That's okay. This generation of kids, your taxes pay for it. And guess what? When they're done getting educated, the democratic process, okay, because I know that we are a constitutional republic. Okay, I'm talking about the democratic process. Will no longer exist. There will be no more repetition. There's nobody left to teach them. So if you want America to survive, if you're a patriot, you should care about this. Everybody has skin in the game. Literally. Your tax money, skin in the game. Your future. Because, guys, these kids are getting the kind of education when you involve UNESCO, Bill Gates, population control, that kind of thing. We're talking about like 1984, Orwellian. When we talk about like global warming, and is at what point will we have used up, Mother Earth can no longer sustain us. So will there become an age to where we have used up our time on this earth, and that we will then, the normalization would then become, you know, at age 70, you Mother Earth can no longer sustain you. You've had your your set limit of life. Is it, guys, that's what it, when we talk about sustainable goals, this is why SDGs, ESG, and education is so important, is because of things like this. And it is a completely dystopian future that we're looking at. So is it that important? Yeah, unless you want to be put on a train because you at age 70 or 65, instead of having Social Security, they're going to put you on a train for you to go night-night, like the Giver, is that you've reached your age of usefulness. You're no longer giving back to society. You're no longer a productive global citizen for the good of everybody else. You've contributed all you're going to contribute. So your time is up. Bye, Mom. Bye, Grandma. Bye, Grandpa. Thanks for the 70 years. Love you. Guys, dystopian stuff like that was written for a reason. And yeah, it's a bitter, hard pill to swallow, but you can take your blue pill and go black into your oblivion, and then when your train pulls up in 30 years, be like, damn, I should have said something. Or you can look at where we are and you can do something about it. And it's a scary future. It's a scary wake up, I tell you. But just remember, you're not alone. And I'm alone a lot. And if I can be alone and do this, imagine if you're not alone and you can speak out and you know that you can come to me, or there's other people. Imagine what we could do. It won't take a revolution, even though I would love a Boston Tea Party, Viva la Revolution. It won't take that. It'll take about 30 unapologetic, truth-speaking patriots saying no more. We will do this no more. So, if you know anybody in Amherst, Bedford, Nelson, I mean, there's great candidates out there that need help. And they have like weeks to go. Mike Allers is one. Mike Strickland has a primary coming up. But yeah, especially Sarah Mays. She's wonderful, and she's an actual human being with an address who's following the law and has taken enough time to actually understand education and what's going on. And she's not endorsed by Americans for Prosperity, which is part of the coctopus. So there's your Friday freedom. I don't know. It's not Constitutional Carpool if y'all watch that on my live channel on my personal Facebook. But Freedom Friday is say no to the establishment. Like, just, guys, just know. When you see people, I call it fluffing. When you see endorsements, just link the breadcrumbs up. But when you see endorsements by people like 501c4s, like Virginians for Children's First, that's for the people, by the people. We don't get paid by anybody to do anything. So there's no money attached when you come with our endorsement. It comes with a, are you for the people, by the people? What do you represent? What are you going to do? So that's that. I hope you guys have a good one, and I will talk to you